Yeah, how are you?
I'm well, Melinda. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Catherine, and welcome to the Global Virtual Summit 2026, Catherine. And before starting your session, I want to introduce you to our audience. Yeah.
And Melinda, before you do that, I brought up my presentation. Are you seeing it? Is it available? Okay,
Yeah.
because VJ said it would transfer automatically from backstage.
Yes. Please give me a minute.
There
Yeah.
we go. Okay, perfect. Good. Then we're ready.
And sorry, Catherine Johnston has extensive experience working in over 50 countries as a leader, consultant, executive coach, and author in cross-cultural and global contexts. She is a passionate about partnering with leaders to help them bring out the best in themselves and others as they navigate their professional and personal journeys. She offers leadership development, business strategy, facilitation, as well as executive and team coaching, building on the success of her company in Norway. Through the wonders of technology, she continues to maintain valued client relationships in Norway while working with leaders globally as she expands her Vancouver based business in North America. You have done a really great job, Catherine, and the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Melinda. Hello, everyone, and welcome wherever you are in the world. I am here in Vancouver, Canada, and just really happy to be starting off my morning with all of you. I am the founder and executive director of Global Minds, and as Melinda mentioned, I deliver globally. I've worked in a lot of countries, and it's something that I really find not only interesting, but something I'm very passionate about. I chose today's topic, EQ in an AI world, and why emotional intelligence and critical thinking are important, because I really have found that this topic keeps coming up when I'm working with clients. It's coming up at conferences. I work a lot in the area of strategic HR and learning and development, and there is a feeling that there is a bit of a gap and a lag. And really the need to catch up on the talent side when it comes to AI and how we integrate that in our roles that make the workplace a better place for everybody. So let me just get my slide. There we go. So briefly, and Melinda, I'm just going to check in with you. So we started at 7:10. What's that? 9:10 Eastern. So I'll go for 30 minutes. That's my goal. So agenda for today. First, I just want to touch briefly on AI, some of the facts and the reality in 2026, how emotional intelligence plays a role, and also critical thinking and communication. And then looking at how to adapt talent strategy to execute business strategy, where so many companies are now focusing, a big part of their business strategy is around AI. And then I have some resources to share with you at the end. I'm going to keep my chat open. Hello, Heather Jet. And I will try and keep an eye on that. But VJ and Melinda, if I lose track and you think there's something that needs to be brought to my attention, I'd appreciate you doing that. Okay, super. Thank you. Okay, so what are the facts and the reality in 2026? And I've been working with someone at Indeed.com, which is like a massive global recruiting firm, in particular online. And Deepa is her name, has mentioned that they've really noticed some discrepancies in terms of what the signals that they're hearing and then what the reality is. So according to research that they did the end of 2025, less than 6% of job postings in 2025-26 mention AI. And 95% of employers do not list any AI specific roles. And I can see, I just want to explain from my recent experience that I think that's true if you look at the overall, like all the jobs. But if you look at jobs for recent university graduates or entry levels, there's definitely a lot more emphasis on AI, even if it is quality checking the AI that is being generated. So there is, I think they have these, statistics lie, or you can interpret them any way that you want. However, it's really important to look at the nuances and see what is the breakdown according to potentially different age groups and types of jobs when it comes to this. So some of the key takeaways from this study done by Indeed is, despite the recession, this is done from a US perspective, the labor market is stagnating rather than collapsing. And though, as I mentioned previously, AI-related job postings are rare, they and represent a small percentage, it is growing every year. And I think that's only going to become exponential. And so the big focus is really building teams that can use and manage AI effectively. So the idea is not to replace employees, but rather to augment them. And I want to talk too, as we move along, about the importance of human and human skills complementing what AI offers. So this piece I found quite interesting. So of the postings in the last year, again, this is done from Indeed's perspective, of the jobs posted in the past year, 26% of them could be highly transformed by Gen AI. And 46% of skills in a US job posting are poised for hybrid transformation. And skills that are likely to be fully replaced by Gen AI is now 19% when it was 0. So I think the fundamental question is not whether Gen AI will change jobs. It absolutely is and will, but really what kinds of jobs will be most changed, which ones will be least changed, and how will they be changed and why? So some of the things that came up about artificial intelligence is, I look at it as a learning and development professional. I'm working a lot with talent strategy and succession planning. I really am looking at it from the impact on it has on an organization, that it has on leaders, and that it has on employees. And I think that, like many, there's a lot of curiosity out of there. And, current stats are around 80% of people want to learn more about how to use AI in their profession. There are some people who are doing a very hard no. However, there's a lot of worry about potentially losing the personal connection that they have with colleagues and potentially losing jobs. And so the key really is about learning new skills or adapting current skills and upskilling and reskilling. And here I want to point out that the importance of, it's not just there's a lot of focus right now about becoming more AI fluent, AI fluency, but the other skills, like we're going to talk about emotional intelligence and critical thinking and communication skills, those also need to be skilled and reskilled as people are moving along, because it changes how you do some of those things will change. So I would just love to take a moment. I have no idea how many people are in this session, but please take a moment and go into the chat, which is should be, you have the same view as me, on the right, sort of right upper hand in one column. And I'm just curious, because I know you're, from many different places and many different backgrounds. In your world, how has AI changed expectations of your role, of your company? Just really curious in seeing what's top of mind for you. So I would be really surprised if there's no one that it's um, changed their expectations. I mean, I think I see a lot of research showing, and not only research, but anecdotal in terms of working with clients, that there's an expectation that people can produce things more quickly. And yet they still need the time to do the verification, and they need the skills in which to do that verification. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not getting a whole lot of responses in the chat, so we will move along. And oh, thank you, Wanda. Yeah, production time is quicker. Yeah. Well, production time is quicker. So gathering information, for example, on a new topic can happen much more quickly, and then you need the information or the ability to verify what is accurate, what is missing, is there something supplementing. Oh, and there's a question. Yeah, I think Heather Janet, why is emotional intelligence more important in an AI-driven world? So I am absolutely going to get to that. Thank you for that question. Okay. Oh, the slide deck mover is at the bottom here, which is not where I'm used to doing it. There we go. Okay. So leadership is not just about algorithms and data. It is about understanding and engaging with people. And emotional intelligence is what sets exceptional leaders apart in the age of AI. And what's interesting is this is from the former senior VP of Apple, which is a tech company. And I think back to your comment, Janet, that it is really about what we see now with all the disruption happening with AI. It's creating a lot of confusion, a lot of uncertainty for employees. And so those leaders who are able to empathize, who are able to set themselves in the shoes of others, who have their own self-awareness and the other awareness of how people are reacting, they are more able to bring those people along on the journey as AI does transform many, many industries. Okay, so this is, and this is from a book I wrote many years ago about leadership, but it is about complex resources, which is us, humans. And humans are made up of all these different elements, right? So you've got work experience, personality, gender, education, age, generation, culture, and it makes oh, good. I see another good question in there. So how, each person is unique and needing to meet people where they are, and at the same time, having to still lead an organization and lead your people. And so really these complex resources also give humans their strength, because it gives them the background, the experience to filter through lots of different situations and apply judgment and ethics. Yeah, I see here. Good question, Hannah Joseph. How can leaders balance AI reliance with human critical thinking? Yeah, we're definitely going to get there too, because that is, and I have a great quote. It doesn't come to mind at the moment, but it is something about there's a risk with AI that it can lead to intellectual complacency, right? Like people just stop thinking because you can plug in a few prompts and you get a page or two worth or a whole PowerPoint deck. And that does, weaken the critical thinking. So there's definitely a balance there. So moving on to emotional intelligence. And this goes back to a little bit what I was saying in the question that you had, Heather Janet, is that as AI continues to transform the way we work, the importance of EQ has never been greater. Emotionally intelligent leaders can manage the complexities and uncertainties of change while fostering a culture of innovation and engagement. And that's going to be really critical, right? Keeping people engaged in the workplace, especially if they feel that they're being, I love all these hearts coming up here. um, especially if they feel that their skills may be becoming obsolete or they don't have a strong connection. So this is, I think, going to be for companies that are able to do this, and for leaders that have high IQ that are able to do this, that they are going to be able to lead more successfully, and in that sense, taking their organizations with them. Now, I don't want to make any assumptions, because I know what's great about this conference is it has many people from many different diverse backgrounds. So, emotional intelligence, the 90s, Daniel Goleman, and there are now quite a few different tools and assessments out there. I use one called EQI 2.0. And really, it's just a self-assessment. I'm loving those hearts. It's a self-assessment for people to take to figure out where they are in terms of different dimensions and areas in which they can strengthen. And I'm not going to dive into all of them, but I just want you to like the main headlines. So like that self-perception, so awareness of oneself and preferences, how you express that in terms of when you communicate with others, interpersonal skills that include, empathy, which is really important in this one, and then decision making and stress management. And the stress management one is also linked to resilience and managing stress in times of change, which we absolutely are in right now. So, if you think about the benefits of a human and the benefits of someone that has a higher emotional intelligence, is that unlike AI at this stage, to be honest, oh, sorry, I'll come back to that. That humans can sense emotions and pick up on nonverbal cues, which is really critical. And people with a higher IQ have a greater ability to think outside the box and generate new ideas and solve complex problems. We talked about earlier the whole point of employee engagement and really keeping the team together, having them want to work, and having that positive work culture that fosters creativity and respect and appreciation will lead to retention. And finally, social responsibility and ethics. And this is a huge topic in itself. But what we see with AI is that there are definitely some ethical issues that are popping up, some privacy issues, job displacement. So the social responsibility and that human judgment, not that it's infallible, but the human judgment will play an important role. And I see Wanda Robinson, that it's one of your favorites to use. Yes, I highly recommend this one for sure. I've used a lot of different tools, but this is a good one. Okay, so now to the critical thinking piece, right? And I'm sure this isn't anything you haven't heard before, but what I'd like to, compare, and I heard this quote earlier, AI to humans, and like quick answers don't always mean the right answers. So yes, you can generate things very, very quickly, put in a few prompts with AI, and it might not all be accurate. Like my experience these days is around 80%, and even less when context is important. So the big thing right now and where we are, and I'm using that as a general statement, is that right now within the age of AI, the essential human skill is actually verifying the AI generated data, right? Because it's often biased or based on inaccurate outputs. And so introducing that human element to ensure ethical, context aware decision making. So production, we talked about, Wanda, you mentioned earlier, production, like gathering the information, can be faster. And then you use the human time, the more value added time to quality check it and potentially improve it. But then like a lot of the admin work is done. And this is where AI exceeds at speed and pattern recognition. human critical thinking can prevent over-reliance and bridge gaps in creativity and emotional intelligence, and going back to that nuanced understanding. So here are some of the advantages, the human advantages of critical thinking, of what a human critical thinker can bring to the table, right? And I've talked a lot about them. I'd like to go to the fifth point, human in the loop. And this was kind of interesting. So this is like percentage human, percentage AI when it comes to a particular task or a end-to-end process. And so some are saying, okay, well, it's going to be 70% human and 30% AI. And I think this is a very interesting way of looking at roles potentially, or tasks or projects, and seeing what do we think is the right balance for this particular topic. And here was that quote. I couldn't remember off the top of my head. And I think this is key, that critical thinking ensures AI is a tool. It is a tool to enhance human capability rather than replace it, which would lead to intellectual complacency. So that, I think that's the risk we really want to prevent it against. So this is going back to a little bit of the stats, because I want to get into what I see as a real gap when it comes to talent strategy and learning and development, which is the area that I work a lot with. So you have, there's a lot of focus right now on AI fluency, like people being better at AI, and there's less emphasis on redesigning the work and learning around AI, like how it impacts and changes and could change and should change a role. So if you look here, you have 36% of companies expect at least 10% of their jobs to be fully automated in a year. And in the next 3 years, 82% expect at least 10% of their jobs can be fully automated. Like, that's a big jump. And at the same time, 84% of companies have not yet redesigned or really begun to think about redesigning job around AI capabilities. Oh, this is terribly small. I'm sorry if you can't see that. It usually comes up bigger. Hopefully this is bigger on your screen. But essentially, this is showing that the far right column, which is talent, and the top bar, which is green, is only 20% of companies feel that they are highly prepared when it comes to their talent strategy for AI adoption. And if you combine, so 45% is the middle, which is like moderately prepared. And then the combination of not prepared at all is 35%. So that is a really big gap. Whereas when it comes, if you go to the column on the left-hand side, which is about technology infrastructure and the level of preparation for AI adoption, that it's quite high. 43% believe that they are, highly prepared, and very few are not prepared at all. So it does visually show you what this gap is looking like. So some of the things that can be done to close the gap is the C-suite putting more focus and funding on preparing people, the talent, to deliver the strategy, looking at redesigning roles, and learning and development, providing training in EQ, critical thinking, and communication skills. And the reason I bring this up is what I am seeing are some generational preferences when it comes to how people like to communicate, and some of the more recent studies done when it comes to Gen Z, which is sort of the younger end of the workforce now, is a lot of it is like chat, digital communication versus verbal communication, picking up the phone or whatever. And so there is a need for organizations to train people in EQ and critical thinking and communication skills, because you cannot take it for granted that that is something that they have gotten in their university education or their trade education. And so I think that's a really important piece, that people's needs are different. And I'm a huge fan of reverse mentoring. So you've got people like, I can take my son who just graduated from university, comes out, has all these great digital AI fluency skills, and he can mentor, so reverse mentor, like someone, of my generation when it comes to that, and one of my generation or younger, but who has worked a lot with interpersonal skills, can mentor them, right? So there's a nice trade-off there, and I think we're really getting the best out of it. So just wrapping up here, still clicking the wrong button. So one of the things that comes to mind for me is that the more high tech we become, the more high touch we need to become, which is the EQ human centric part. And really, I try and keep that in mind, that technology can either alienate people or they feel it's getting away from them. So particularly as leaders, I know some of you are coaches, these are some of the ways that you can bring in your high touch to provide more of a balance and more comfort. So AI will not replace humans, but humans using AI will replace those who don't. So everybody needs to get on the bus. And I think humans using AI coupled with EQ, critical thinking, and clear communication skills will excel. What skills should professionals develop to stay emotionally intelligent? Okay, Lena, I will try and put that in the chat, or why don't I just wrap up these 2 slides and we'll come back to that. Great comment. Okay, so this is Jamie Dimon, and he's the CEO of JP Morgan Chase. And you can read the quote yourself, but this is, and it's interesting, leads a financial institution, which is often just about numbers and quant, but he's really emphasizing the importance of the human skills that we've just been talking about and why it's important. So like employability, securing, future job growth, long-term career resilience, because we're just going to have to keep adapting, I feel, more and more quickly as the technology accelerates. And still, it's having good communication and problem-solving skills are projected to dominate future growth. And these skills are more transferable amongst industries, which is something to think about when you want to have long-term career resilience and the importance of continuous learning. So I will just bring this next slide up. So there are some resources here. Lots of stuff out on LinkedIn Learning, of course, and there's no shortage of that. Some of the things that I have used for this presentation that are recent, because this is changing so quickly, is Indeed's Future of AI, which was done at the end of 2025. And then Deloitte came out with their 2026 State of AI in the Enterprise, which looks at the strategic piece, the technology piece, and the talent piece. So I highly recommend those, as well as the why EQ is important for AI. And you are welcome to connect with me either on LinkedIn or Instagram. And I think, yes, I have my website there and my email. So Lena, going back to your question, what should professionals develop to stay emotionally intelligent alongside AI? Well, I think certainly the empathy, the problem solving is in there. That's an element of decision making. Flexibility is really key. And yeah, so I think I finished in just under 30 minutes. So Thank you all again. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And I wish all of you that are on here, that are speakers, the best of luck with your upcoming presentations.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for the presentation. And it was a wonderful talk. Please be on the backstage and join the next session, Catherine.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you so much for answering every question that is in the chat box. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.